Dear students, in this class we are going to discuss the gene therapy. The definition of gene therapy is that it is the genetic manipulations in animals or humans to correct diseases. That means uh, we do insertion or inhibition or deletion of the genes in order to correct the genetic defects which are otherwise not able to be corrected by other modalities of treatment. So, depending on the action on genes, the gene therapy can be categorized into two categories. The first one is gene augmentation therapy. In this therapy, we try to insert a piece of DNA which is supposed to replace the missing gene product. And the second one is gene inhibition therapy, in which we try to insert an antisense gene which inhibits the expression of the defective existing gene. Okay, then coming on to the next part. Approaches of gene therapy. There are three different approaches of gene therapy, namely somatic cell therapy, embryo cell gene therapy, and germ cell gene therapy. As the name suggests, the somatic cell therapy is done only in non-reproductive cells. For example, bone marrow, cells, blood cells, and skin cells, etc. The embryo cell gene therapy is done in embryonic cells, which these embryonic cells are derived from early embryo stages. And the third one is germ cell gene therapy, which involves the reproductive cells. We will discuss all these three approaches one by one in some detail. First of all, the somatic cell gene therapy. As I told you, the somatic cell gene therapy is done in those cells which do not involve sperm or egg, that is reproductive cells. They are done in all the other cells which are also called as somatic cells. In these cells, there is an insertion of a functional gene which is supposed to produce the desired protein. The other character of this therapy is the treatment affects only a particular organ, excluding germ-line cells. That means the target organ in which there is a deficiency found, the treatment is targeted to that particular organ only. And since it is targeted to a particular organ or a particular type of cells, this corrected gene is not inherited in the next generation because it is not involving the reproductive cells. So the treatment effect is confined to the patient itself. Okay. Then next thing is, this kind of treatment is considered only when there is no alternative treatment left. That means before trying somatic cell gene therapy, we have to try all the other alternatives which are present uh, at the current moment, and if none of them works, then as a last choice we try the somatic cell gene therapy. There is one disadvantage of this therapy is it is not effective in multi-organ disease. That means a particular disease which affects more than one organ. For example, a metastatic cancer which is metastasized in different parts of the body. In those type of diseases, somatic cell gene therapy is not very effective because of the complexity of the cells and their different natures. In spite of all these limitations, somatic cell gene therapy is the most actively researched therapy at present. Okay. Next we go to the embryo cell gene therapy. As the name suggests, embryo cell gene therapy involves the embryonic cells which are pluripotent. The term pluripotent means the cells are undifferentiated and are capable of differentiate into any other cell of the particular body. That means the cells are able to give rise to the cells of any other organ, and these cells have the ability to proliferate over prolonged periods while remaining undifferentiated. That means they can be maintained in culture media in their native undifferentiated form for a long time and can be used as and when required. These cells are derived from the blastocyst stage where it is 100 to 200 cell stage. It can also be derived from late morula stage, that is 30 to 40 cells, and from arrested embryos which are 16 to 24 cells. Here arrested embryos means those embryos whose development has been stopped by some reason, but the cells are not yet dead and they retain the capacity of differentiation. So we can use those cells as embryo cell gene therapy. These cells can also be taken from even blastomeres, which are 8 cell embryo stages. This therapy is a valuable tool for studying early human embryonic development by developing in vitro culture models. That means it is a very useful tool in studying the growth and development of a normal organ or any particular gene right from the embryonic stage. Next, the third type of gene therapy is germ cell gene therapy. As the name suggests, it involves germline cells, and the gene which is inserted in this therapy is able to be passed to the successive generations. That means the effect of the treatment can be seen in the next generations also. Then whatever may be the approach, whether it is somatic cell gene therapy or embryonic cell or germline cell gene therapy, any therapy involves the following steps before being employed for the general public. In these steps, the first one is in vitro experiments on animals, which establishes the efficacy of a particular gene product in a living system. This stage is also known as preclinical trials. Once there are encouraging results from preclinical trials, then we go for phase 1 trials, which involves 5 to 10 human subjects, which is a very small population, but it is the first trial to see how the effect of gene is there on humans. Once good results are obtained from phase 1 trial, then the gene undergoes phase 2 trials, in which 100 to 200 human subjects are involved to study the effect of the gene and its products. Once encouraging results are obtained in phase 2 trials also, then the phase 3 trial is started in a large human sample, and the data obtained from that trial is used to analyze the safety and efficacy of a particular gene therapy. Now, so far we discussed the different approaches of gene therapy. Now we are going to discuss the types of gene therapy. There are two types of gene therapy, ex vivo and in vivo. Ex vivo literally means outside the body. In vivo means inside the body. Now first we will discuss the ex vivo gene therapy. The ex vivo gene therapy involves the transfer of genes in cultured cells, for example bone marrow cells, which are then reintroduced into the patient. So I have tried to depict this in the form of a diagram. Here you can see once a genetic defect is identified in a patient, then those particular cells which are affected are isolated. Once isolated, they are cultured in vitro, means in laboratory, and then therapeutic gene constructs which are supplied from outside are supplied to the culture plate, and here the transformation occurs, that is, the therapeutic gene constructs will go inside the cells and incorporate themselves into the nucleus of the cells. Then the genetically transformed cells are selected from this culture plate, and then we get those cells which are genetically transformed. Once we get these cells which are supposed to contain the therapeutic gene constructs, then the cells are transplanted back to the same place from where the original cells were isolated. So in this way, the ex vivo gene therapy is applied for a particular genetic defect. Then the next one is in vivo gene therapy. In this therapy, in vivo gene therapy, there is a direct delivery of genes into the target tissue. That means here we don't isolate and take the tissue or cells out of the body, but we directly deliver the genes into the target tissue. These target tissues may involve liver, muscle, skin, lung, brain and blood cells. The success of these two therapies depends on three factors, mainly three factors. First one, efficiency of uptake of remedial gene. That means how many cells are transformed after taking the remedial gene successfully. Here, remedial genes means that those therapeutic gene constructs. Then second factor is there is intracellular degradation of the gene. That means once the gene is gone inside the cell, there are chances that the gene may be degraded by the enzymes of the cell. But there is some probability that some of the genes may pass into the nucleus of the cell and incorporate themselves with the DNA material of the cells. So, depending on how much intracellular degradation has happened, the success of the therapy is graded. Then third factor is expression capability of gene. This means even after successful incorporation of the remedial gene, it has to be seen that how much the gene is expressed. If it is too much expressed, then also it will interfere with the general metabolism of the body. Or the other way, if it is expressed too less and it produces very less protein, then also the desired result will not be obtained. So, overall, the success of gene therapy, whether it is in vivo or ex vivo, is dependent on three important factors, which are efficiency of uptake of remedial gene, intracellular degradation of the gene, and expression capability of gene. Then finally, we go on to the future of gene therapy. Now here we should understand that though gene therapy is a new way to treat diseases, and theoretically it sounds very easy, but practically it has several inbuilt complexities. The first one is it is absolutely essential to ensure that the gene is harmless and is expressed. If the gene is producing any harm to any other metabolic pathway, then the desired result will not be obtained. Or if the gene is overexpressed or underexpressed, then also the desired result will not be obtained. Moreover, the body's immune system reacts with the foreign proteins which are produced by the new genes, and these proteins may be treated as foreign particles by the body's immune system and can be discarded. So, in this case also the desired result will not be obtained. Then, general public has exaggerated expectations due to a lot of popularity and advertisement in media. The general public has a lot of expectations from gene therapy in the way that it is the ultimate form of therapy. But the reality is very different. In fact, there was a study done in around 1999 in 1000 human subjects in America, and unfortunately the researchers are unable to categorically say that the results or the therapeutic effects produced in those patients is particularly due to the gene inserted. So, it remains to be researched that how the gene and its product is affecting the metabolism, and how much it has to be established that a particular product is only responsible for the treatment of a disease. It is still a matter of persistent research which is required. So the future of gene therapy depends on the research done in the gene therapy. This concludes my class. Thank you.